Mangwana ni mwalele po bugenjani Vanave Africa. Welcome to this show that keeps you abreast with the latest happenings across the continent. My name is Aina Raizakwea alongside Diana Master Mamkase.
Tamuka Mamkase.
Tamuka.
Munoshimureri.
Tunoshimure.
You're getting there.
I am.
Now let's get into what you can expect in today's broadcast. Mnangagwa sworn in after disputed Zimbabwe poll. Uganda detains man suspected of planning a bomb attack on church, and Comorian president wants to accelerate intra-African trade. We'll also be speaking to Mike Sichula in Zambia as he updates us on all the news making headlines that side.
Good evening and welcome to Sunset News.
HB stays in list A in his speech, rate in taxes, and how much.
After the break, we take a look at the sports.
We bring you
Economic indicators, tomorrow's weather and sports. I am Aina Raizakwea. In our top stories this morning, Mnangagwa sworn in after disputed Zimbabwe poll. President Emmerson Mnangagwa has taken his oath of office at the start of his second term, swearing to uphold the Constitution. He was sworn in by Chief Justice Luke Malamba in front of tens of thousands supporters of his ZANU-PF party. Regional leaders including South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and Mozambique leader Filipe Nyusi are attending the event. So is the First Lady Grace Mugabe. Mnangagwa has accused outsiders of trying to sponsor mayhem during the election. The main opposition, Citizen Coalition for Change, boycotted the ceremony. It has called for fresh elections, describing President Emmerson's win as a gigantic fraud.
Now getting into our next story, Uganda detains man suspected of planning bomb attack on church. Police in Uganda said on Sunday they had foiled a bomb attack on a cathedral in the capital Kampala and arrested the man suspected of trying to activate the explosive device among worshippers. Hundreds of people were evacuated from the Rubaga Miracle Center Cathedral after the man tried to enter with an explosive device, said police spokesman Patrick Onyango. We carried out a controlled detonation of the improvised explosive device consisting of nails, a motorbike battery, a charger and a telephone handset that was used in the attack, he told reporters outside the cathedral. He said police had tracked the 28-year-old after receiving a tip-off about a possible attack on a place of worship and found a bomb in his rucksack when he was arrested. Police are looking for 3 other men, the suspect having indicated that he may have had accomplices. The perimeter of the cathedral was cordoned off. Sniffer dogs and members of bomb squads inspected the area, but no threat was detected.
Comorian president wants to accelerate intra-trade, accelerate the constitution of a large African trade zone free of custom duties in particular. This is what Comorian President Azali Assoumani, who this year holds the presidency of the African Union, is committed to. Since its entry into force in 2021, the African Continental Free Trade Area is still far from its objectives. This year, I have made it my mission to accelerate the construction of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which represents a great opportunity and will bring enormous benefits to Africa. Africa will also help countries outside of the region. Taking the example of Comoros, we need to create favorable investment conditions so that investments are not limited to local areas, but can also flow to countries like Madagascar and Tanzania.
Now, Gabon coup leader sworn in as interim president. The leader of Gabon's military junta has vowed to return power to civilians after free, transparent elections. However, in a speech after being sworn in as interim president, it did not give a date for military rule to end. General Brice Nguema led last Wednesday's coup against Ali Bongo, toppling the president shortly after he was named winner of a disputed election. Crowds of cheering civilians turned up at the inauguration. The coup was welcomed by many eager for change. However, some say General Ngwema's rule will be a continuation of the 55-year Bongo dynasty. Ali Bongo's father Omar was in power for 41 years before he died in 2009 and was succeeded by his son. The general, aged 48, spent most of his career in the Bongo's inner circle and is even thought to be Ali Bongo's cousin. At Monday's inauguration, General Ngwema gave a defiant speech referencing the likes of South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu, French statesman Charles de Gaulle, and former Ghanaian leader Jerry Rawlings.
In our next story, mission accomplished. India puts moon rover to sleep. India switched off its moon rover, the first craft to reach the lunar South Pole, after it completed its 2-week assignment conducting experiments, the country's space agency said. The Pragyan rover spacecraft was set into sleep mode, but with batteries charged and receiver on, the Indian Space Research Organization said in a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, late on Saturday, hoping for a successful awakening for another set of assignment. ISRO said, else it will forever stay there as India's lunar ambassador. By landing on the moon, India joined the United States, China, and former Soviet Union. It went beyond them, reaching a rugged South Pole shortly after Russia's Luna 25 crashed on a similar attempt.
That brings us to the end of our top stories. Now we return with news from Zambia with Mike Sichula after this short break.
eTicket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nmh.com.na.
In some news from Zambia this morning, we actually start off with news from Western Zambia, where construction of the first ever solar power plant is expected to start next year. Here to give us the full details of the story is Mr. Mike Sichula. Good morning, Mr. Sichula.
Africa, good morning. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, like you've said, Diana, this is the first ever construction of the solar power plant in the Western Zambia. So the construction of the 25 megawatts Ilute power plant in Sesheke district of Western Zambia is expected to start in January next year. This follows the signing of an implementation agreement between Greencorp Power Services and the Zambian government through the Ministry of Energy. So Greencorp Services Zambia has mobilized close to $15 million to fund the construction of the project. So according to Greencorp Power Services Zambia company manager Brian Mwanza, he says the firm has received support from several funders. Then he also said the project will be buying power from the power plant in Sesheke, which will then be sold to the power company ZESCO and drifted into the national grid. So this power plant is expected to contribute to economic activities of various nature in the district, such as welding, the tourism sector, as well as housing, and many other people who want to do businesses such as factories.
All right, Master Sichula, moving on to your next story, we understand that the police have arrested a military officer who is linked with a spate of robbery cases in the tourist capital, Livingstone. Tell us about this.
Yes, something that has shocked many Zambians, considering that military persons are supposed to lead by example. But this one is a contrary case where the two, actually it's a soldier in the Zambia Army identifies as Morgan Santo, who is the warrant officer based in Livingstone. So brief facts of the offense are that Samuel Chiami, age 47, of Linda compound in Livingstone, was involved in aggravated robberies with other unknown persons, in which he is alleged to have robbed a resident of Libuyu compound amounting to 61,000 kwacha, and in another case, the suspects are alleged to have robbed a resident of Livingstone town of 2 cellular phones valued at 14,000 kwacha. So the incidents are reported to have occurred between May and August 9th, 2023 within the districts. Further investigations indicated that one of the firearms used in the act was a property of the government of Zambia. So these two have been put in custody for aggravated robbery. Then the other offense for the military officer is that he's been charged with the offense of using property that is from government to commit crime.
Okay, now Mr. Sichula, moving on, authorities have warned people to desist from engaging children as mains following the death of a 14-year-old girl.
So what happened in this case is that a couple aged between 33 years and a couple, actually, they had a maid who was aged 14 years. So there's something that happened in their homes where they claimed, later they took the body of the 14-year-old girl to the hospital, claiming that she had died in her sleep. But before police could take the body, when they came to home, they examined the young girl, the deceased. They discovered that she had marks of having been tied and also being beaten. It was at that then that the police did institute an arrest of the couple, and they put them in police custody because they suspected foul play. And when she was taken to hospital for examinations, it was indeed confirmed that before she died, she was actually beaten with all sorts of instruments, and such that by the time the couple discovered that she had died, they took her to bed to create an impression that she had died in her sleep, when in fact not. So this is the case why the government is now urging people who are engaging young girls as their maids to ensure that they get permission from authorities, because this case of the 14-year-old girl working as a maid is actually illegal, because that is underage employment or child labor. This is why government is coming up with such, reminding citizens to ensure that they do the right things.
All right, Master Sichula, and the Zambia Hockey Women's National Team has been drawn in Group B of the 2024 Hockey Fives World Cup alongside Australia, Ukraine and South Africa. Tell us about this.
Well, this will be Zambia's first ever Hockey World Cup appearances for a national team in both the men's and the women's category in the sport. So the top two teams in each group will qualify to the last 8 knockout stage. The World Cup will be hosted in Oman capital from the 24th to 27th January 2024. So Zambia now, as this sport is new to Zambia, but over the years, a number of people have joined, and also Zambia has been performing relatively, bringing out good results. So them participating at the World Cup Fives alongside Australia, Ukraine, and South Africa is something that is of a huge achievement, and it is hoped that Zambia will certainly do better at this championship that is coming. Like I did say, that this is the first time that the Zambian team from both men and women will be participating at such a high-level competition.
Well, we will be looking forward to hearing the results from the tournament. Thank you so much, Mr. Sichula, for giving us an update on all the latest news on the ground in Zambia.
Thank you very much, Africa. Good morning.
We'll now take a look at the weather predictions for Southern Africa and return with economic news.
In our economic news this morning, huge diesel petrol price hikes confirmed for Wednesday. On Wednesday, petrol price both at 93 and 95 unleaded will be hiked by 171 cents a litre. The wholesale price of diesel will be increased by a painful R2.84 a litre. According to the Automobile Association, this is a record price increase. Illuminating paraffin prices will be hiked by R2.78 a litre. A litre of 95 unleaded petrol will now cost R24.54 in Gauteng, the highest level since August 2022. Meanwhile, the wholesale price of diesel in Gauteng will be now R23.05 a litre, a new high for 2023. In July last year, diesel reached a record high of R25.40.
In Mozambique, international reserves fall to $3.2 billion in June. Mozambique's net international reserves fell again at the end of the first half of the year to $3.209 billion, according to figures from the Ministry of Economy and Finance. According to the report on the implementation of the Economic and Social Plan and the state budget from the 1st of January to the 30th of June, these reserves guarantee 3 months of imports of goods and services, excluding imports from major projects, compared to the 5 months they guaranteed in the same period in 2022. In 2023 state budget, the Mozambican government set the goal of building up net international reserves of $2.93 billion, corresponding to 3 months coverage of imports and non-factorial goods and services. That brings us to the end of our economic news. We'll now take a look at the economic indicators before we return with our sports package with Ari Khogad.
Good day, everyone. Time for international sports news, and starting off with tennis news first, and it is the US Open that reaches the second week. The finals will be this coming weekend. That's at Flushing Meadows in New York. Big news from the women's side of the draw is number 1 seed and defending champion Iga Swiatek of Poland. She's out of the tournament, beaten in the round of 16 by Jelena Ostapenko. She's from Latvia, and the score there 3-6, 6-3 and 6-1. Favorite of the Americans is Coco Gauff. She's number 6 seed, and she beat Karolina Wozniacki, that made a big comeback after a few years in retirement. And is Coco Gauff winning 6-3, 3-6 and also 6-1. Similar score to the Iga Swiatek game. Now, with Iga Swiatek out of the tournament, it will be Aryna Sabalenka that will be the new number 1 in world tennis. She's number 2 seed in the US Open, still in the tournament, and she will play in the round of 16 against Danica Sastina. And Aryna Sabalenka then, new world number 1. In the men's side of the draw, it is safely through for Novak Djokovic, number 2 seed, one of the favorites. He beat Borna Gojo by 6-2, 7-5 and 6-4. And he will next play Taylor Fritz of the USA. He's the number 9 seed that will be in the quarterfinals. Other Americans are doing well in the tournament is Francis Tiafoe. He beat Ricky Hijikata. He's from Australia by 6-4, 6-1 and 6-4. And he will next play in the quarterfinals against another American, that is Ben Shelton. And it's Ben Shelton that played against also a player from America, that is Tommy Paul. And it is Ben Shelton that beat Tommy Paul in 4 sets. Continuing international sports news with MotoGP news, and it is on the motorcycles, and it is the leader on the points table at the moment, Francesco Bagnaia, that was hospitalized after a fall on the first lap. That was in the Catalan Grand Prix over the weekend. And it was the race that was won by Alex Espargaro. He's on a Ducati, but it is still Bagnaia that leads on the points table on 260 points, followed by Joel Martin on 210. Brad Binder of South Africa also had a fall on the first round, in the first lap of the Catalan Grand Prix, and he's 4th on the points table after the weekend on 166 points. On to the Grand Prix, that it was the Italian Grand Prix that was at Monza over the weekend. Still Max Verstappen leading on the points table after the weekend. He won the Italian Grand Prix. That was in his Red Bull. His convincing lead, 364 points he's got, followed by his teammate Sergio Perez on 219. And in 3rd position, it is Fernando Alonso on 170. In the Constructors' Championship, it is Red Bull dominating, 583 points for them, followed by Mercedes-Benz 273, and then Ferrari 228. The next Grand Prix will be the Singapore Grand Prix. That will be on the 17th of September. And now moving on to golf news. It's a European Masters that concluded in Switzerland. It was from Sweden, Ludwig Aberg, that won the tournament. He's a rookie from Sweden, and a rookie meaning it's his first season on the DP World Tour, and he won with a total of 19 under par for the 4 rounds. In second place, also a player from Sweden, that was Alexander Borg on -17. Southern African interest, the best player from South Africa was Eric van Rooyen, tied 8th, and he finished on -14. And to conclude cricket news, it is South Africa that will continue with 5 ODI 50-over games against Australia. It was Australia that dominated the T20, 3 games that was played, won that 3-0. Now that's 5 50-over internationals that's going to be played. That's a good preparation for both teams from South Africa and Australia, with the World Cup 50-overs in a month's time going to be in India. The first of the 5 50-over ODIs will be played in Bloemfontein, and that game will be on Thursday. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
You're watching Africa Good Morning. We'll now take a look at the highlights from today's broadcast, just in case you need a quick recap. Mnangagwa sworn in after disputed Zimbabwe poll. Uganda detains man suspected of planning bomb attack on church. Comorian presidents want to accelerate intra-African trade. Huge diesel petrol price hikes confirmed for Wednesday into decay.
Those have been our stories. We thank you very much for watching our show this morning. We will be back again tomorrow, same time, same place. On that note, it's all our love, all our light. Happy Tuesday.